What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to JY's Adventures. Hope y'all are doing great, man. We got more cinema summary. How to beat the freezing and death in Red Dot. Really love these cinema summary videos. You guys really love my reactions to them, man. And we're gonna just keep checking them out. Let me know what I should react to next in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment multiple times for the algorithm. Be sure to watch until the end. The link to the original video is down in the description if you haven't seen it already, guys. I'm ready to see what we got for this one. Let's go.
You're stuck outside in the frozen wilderness with no way to get back to town, no one to call for help, and hunted by unseen snipers. You'll freeze to death if you don't escape, and time is running out. What do you do? It's a worst-case scenario that pits you against frozen lakes, blizzards, and an enemy who won't stop hunting you. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the hunters in Red Dot.
How to beat Red Dot.
This unhappy Swedish couple is holding on to a dark unknown secret, and it's tearing them apart. All David here wants to do is play video games to forget his problems, while his wife Nadia is left cleaning up after
I can
his mess.
relate.
She's
I can
also
relate.
several weeks pregnant, but the only person she's told is her friendly neighbor Thomas. She finds out her husband has arranged an unexpected hiking trip in Bear Valley, and she's excited to go. It's a chance for them to escape their troubles, but they have no idea what they're about to get themselves
What's
into.
about to happen?
Okay, we don't exactly know what their secret is, but these two clearly have some serious emotional baggage. There's nothing worse than being trapped in a bad relationship, and unresolved trauma can turn two people against each other. It doesn't look like much, but we're gonna find out later what these two are hiding, and boy, is it ugly. They stop at a gas station where these hunters show up. There's something off about these guys, and even the dog can tell. He makes a creepy comment about Nadia, and there's blood leaking from the back of his truck. It's not too strange since this area in Sweden is popular for hunting, but David here doesn't like the vibes. As he's pulling out, he accidentally hits the hunter's car, but instead of taking responsibility, they drive away without
just drives
even
off?
leaving a note. What a dick. This is extremely short-sighted, and he should have owned up to it for two reasons. Firstly, anyone with blood dripping from their trunk is not someone you want to piss off. If you already think the guy's creepy, then giving him a reason to hate you is just about the dumbest thing you can do here and could easily backfire. Also, many gas stations have security cameras that would have captured both the incident and your license.
You can see what happens.
Secondly, by law, every Swedish driver must have car insurance, and the dent is pretty small, so his insurance could have easily sorted it out. This tells us a lot about the kind of people they are. Driving away shows a real lack of character, and their bad decisions will catch up with them later on. They stop at the local inn where they have a reservation for the night. As they're checking in, he spots those two guys from the gas station across the room, and they look rightfully pissed off.
They know what's going on.
Trail and even offers to let them stay at his cottage, but then warns them to be very careful on their trip. The cold nights of Sweden are no joke, and things can go terribly wrong out in the wilderness if they don't stick together. Alright, he's not kidding. The winters in this part of the world can reach minus 30 degrees Celsius. If you're stranded without
minus 30?
proper shelter in this climate,
that's cold.
and hypothermia can set in fast. And when the human body's temperature drops below 28 degrees Celsius, you would lose motor dexterity within minutes, become unconscious in less than 15 minutes, and die within less than 45 minutes. For this reason, I would be listening to the local weather forecast before going out. The next morning, they get ready for their drive to Bear Valley, but find scratches on their car and a racial slur written on the back. It looks like revenge for their run-in at the gas station. And on their way to the hiking trail, they pass by the hunter's truck, but she just can't let it go. She gets out to scratch the shit out of his truck. That's when the hunter comes out with the dog, who chases her back to the car. She slams the door, which injures the dog, and they speed away.
You hit their car. You pissed them off, and then you go and key their car? You should have just left it at the racial slur and just call it quits right there, bro. Come on.
Comes out with the dog, who chases her back to the car. She slams the door, which injures the dog, and they speed away once again. Now, it might feel good to get even, but there's no evidence here that the hunters wrote this on their car. We've just dramatically escalated this feud, and now they'll be looking for an opportunity to retaliate. This leaves us super vulnerable if we're hiking in the wilderness, because there's no one around out there to witness anything. These guys are proper hunters, so it's not exactly a fair fight if things escalate any further. The safest thing to do is return home, call off the holiday, and reflect on your life choices, because not being a terrible person goes a long way here. Parking the car, they head up to the mountains and set camp right under the northern lights. Nadia here decides to tell
one of my bucket list trips.
She's overjoyed, but something is wrong. They see a strange red dot hovering across from them and realize someone outside is shining a laser on the tent wall. They go outside to look for the source, but there's no one around for miles. Suddenly, it appears again, but this time on
aiming for
Nadia's
her head.
Officially freaked out, they decide to pack up and leave when something alerts the dog and he bolts outside before they can stop him. Then a gunshot rings out and a bullet flies through their lamp, taking away their only source of light. Needless to say, this holiday is not going well. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here, and they have every reason to freak out. First of all, this dog didn't run away for no reason. The only thing that alerts a dog this quickly without a sound is a dog whistle.
Dog whistle.
That tells me whoever's doing this is someone we've met before, so it's most likely the hunters from the gas station looking for revenge. Now, this sniper's aim is seriously on point, and if he wanted
the
them
lights
dead,
out.
it would be. So these might just be scare tactics. But he's also made a mistake here, because we can use the laser to triangulate the position of the sniper. From the light fall off in the snow, we can figure out that the sniper is in this direction, and this changes everything, because now we can figure out the best direction to run in. Needless to say, running back into the tent is a terrible idea. One of the most effective anti-sniper tactics in the military is to rush the sniper and close in on him to force him out of his position. So if we're able to close that distance quickly with zigzag movements, we become much harder for him to kill. The problem with this is that it's a military strategy for soldiers trained in combat, and the most experience this guy has in combat is playing Battlefield on his PlayStation. Just because it's the best tactic doesn't mean it's the best decision.
Call of Duty,
the most logical
gang.
thing to do here is look for the nearest slope to get out of the sniper's line of fire. The terrain here is pretty flat, but any curvature of the land will still help shield us because there are no high points around for the sniper to perch from. They run for cover into the night, but a flare goes off overhead. Spotlights appear in the distance as they hear the sound of engines speeding towards them. Luckily, they find a wooded area to hide in, but they have to stop when Nadia here starts wincing in pain. David realizes the sounds of the vehicles are getting closer, and he hurries them out of there and hide inside an abandoned building until morning. Okay, they're lucky to find shelter, but staying here is the frozen wilderness equivalent of hiding under the bed. It's just way too obvious, and the hunters will find them. We should check the map the innkeeper gave us and see if there are any buildings marked down. I would head for the innkeeper's cottage as it's most likely closest and might have a landline to call for rescue. But assuming we can find it, it's not going to help us if we lead the hunters straight there. The best option is to create a distraction to lead them away from our direction. If the dog didn't run off, I'd consider tying him up and leaving him here, as the barking will attract the hunters and buy us more time as we stay on the move. It sounds terrible, but it's a calculated risk. These hunters might want to make us suffer, but they also had a dog that they took good care of, and anyone who takes good care of their dog like this would be very unlikely to hurt someone else's. It's the next day, but they don't have a lot of time to escape. They didn't bring their outer layer coats with them from the tent, so they're more vulnerable to the weather than before.
They're super cold.
Nadia here wants to go back to the car, but David points out that the keys and phones are at the tent, and since neither of them know how to hotwire a car, they need to go back to their camp. Going back to the campsite is the worst idea in the world. The hunters are behind you and following your trail, and you'll either run into them, or you'll run straight into a trap. This couple has no survival skills, and they can't Google for directions right now, so their only option is to stay on the run.
They pretty much trapped, bro.
David here decides to check out the tent while Nadia stays back for safety, but she sees him suddenly come out and vomit. She runs up and he warns her not to look inside, but she doesn't listen and sees the decapitated head of their dog, and everything's been stolen.
They killed the dog!
He gets her to calm down and goes back inside to look for the keys. He moves the dog's head to check under the sleeping bag, and his arm gets caught in a bear trap. Nadia here pries the trap off and helps treat the wound, binding it with an improvised cast. Okay, I'm starting to think this has nothing to do with a scratched car, because this is way too extreme.
This is way too
Up until
much.
this point, nobody's been hurt, but now it's turned into a legitimate death scenario. These people don't want to just scare us, they want to kill us, and it tells me every aspect of this is by design. But there's one thing that can't be controlled, and that's the weather. This thick fog is actually a blessing in disguise, because the sniper won't have a clear line of sight unless we're already too close for him to shoot. Now, if we had the same disadvantage, getting back to the car would be too difficult, so I would take this opportunity to look for the hunters. It's dangerous, but so is waiting them out, and when so much of the situation has been controlled by them, it's the last thing they would ever expect. They follow their own tracks from the camp and try to find their way back, but they're completely lost. In the distance, someone is watching them, and he starts shooting at them. They try to make it to these trees for cover, but the guy suddenly realizes this shooter has to reload after every single shot. Just when I thought they couldn't be any dumber, he does something like this and totally redeems himself. He recognized the firing pattern of the gun from none other than Battlefield. He's also completely right, but he should have...
All that time playing video games has helped. I knew it would help. I knew it would come in handy.
He recognized the firing pattern of the gun from none other than Battlefield. He's also completely right, but he should have known this from the beginning because we saw the gun in the hunter's truck at the gas station.
They
it's
saw
a
the gun.
Remington 700 rifle, which is a single-action 5-round gun with one in the chamber. Now, if we knew how many bullets the gun holds, I would count the shots and wait until he has to reload the magazine. This lets us run from cover at the safest possible moment.
Enough time to run away.
Once again, the fog gives us an opportunity here to rush him. If they both split up and started running at him in a zigzag pattern, he'll be delayed reloading and they might have a chance to jump him. But personally, I wouldn't do this because I don't want any risk of getting shot. A wound like that puts an end to this whole cat and mouse game because you'll be too weak to run from them and the blood will be easily tracked. The best strategy here is to take this opportunity to let him see you running into the fog in one direction and then change course. He'll have to rely on his tracking abilities alone, which are likely quite good, but when nature gives you an advantage, you have to take it.
Take that advantage,
wait until the hunter fires his gun and they run for the trees while he's reloading. David here gets shot in the shoulder and falls, but Nadia keeps running and leaves him behind. He sees the shooter approaching and quickly gets out to follow after his wife. She realizes her husband is missing and calls out for him. She
didn't notice he was gone.
Fog, but she hears the ground suddenly crack. She realizes she's standing on thin ice.
Thin ice!
Her husband responds to her call and runs blindly onto the frozen lake. She warns him to be careful, but as he walks over, he falls through the lake's surface.
No!
She crawls over to help him up, but he sinks into the water. She dunks her head in to find him, but he's gone. She's about to give up, but then she sees bubbles come up to the surface and she grabs him, pulling him out of the hole. He's half drowned and freezing to death, but at least he's still alive.
He's gonna be super cold, fam.
This one is unfortunately not going to end well for either of them, and she's not going about this the right way. Realistically, at these temperatures with no means to warm yourself quickly, you'd be dead. This is f***ing dangerous because the body will go into cold shock response after 2 to 3 minutes, which makes you involuntarily gasp, even while you're underwater. The irony here is that you would die by drowning instead of from the cold. If you want that 1% chance of surviving this, keep your head above the water and try to get yourself back on the ice. Now even this can be very difficult because the ice around the hole will easily break. That was also her mistake because she could have easily fallen in after him from the breaking ice. To escape the water, you'll need to use your elbows and move yourself out as horizontally as possible to distribute the weight more evenly across the ice. If you're lucky enough to get out, you'll need to take off all your clothes because the soaked water actually makes it colder than being in just your tiny whities. They can't make a fire because it will attract the hunters and they don't have the time or the tools to do it. So the only chance is to rub warmth into the body. The limbs will feel colder because they are thinner, and the brain's instinct is to rub them first. But the best thing to do here is to rub the chest to protect and warm the heart. The smartest thing to do here for survival is to leave him for dead. It's so brutal, but if he's already fallen...
Guys, I'm sorry for not talking as much. I'm learning right now, bro. Because I'm about to travel the world, bro, and you never know what could happen, bro. You know what I'm saying?
The smarter thing to do here for survival is to leave him for dead. It's so brutal, but if he's already fallen in, he will need immediate medical care when he escapes, and she won't be able to help him. Now, to be fair, I wouldn't leave my partner behind either. I'd try everything I could, but it's only going to decrease your chances of surviving. They find an abandoned cabin and take shelter inside, where Nadia here discovers a lot of useful things, including a phone that she uses to call for mountain rescue. Unfortunately, they can't come until the storm clears, so she makes use of her time stitching her husband's wound and checks to make sure she hasn't lost her baby. She's relieved to hear that it's still alive after everything they've been through.
Wow.
Now these guys have been extremely lucky. They found shelter when they needed it most, giving time for the husband to recover. But turning on all these lights here is just about the dumbest thing you can possibly do. Their one advantage was the fog of the winter storm, but these lights will cut through that, leading the hunters straight to the only place keeping this man alive. They even have a lit candle by the window, which is so stupid. These lights aren't enough to keep the husband warm, so they serve no benefit. Even without any lights, I still would have tried covering the windows so nobody would know we were inside.
Nobody could see.
Now this guy still has to recover, and that's going to be really difficult to do without heat. Technically speaking, it's possible to override your own autonomic nervous system to control your own body temperature with meditation and breathing exercises. Wim Hof proved this.
I was just about to say his name. The Iceman. Like he literally just goes into water and just extra cold water and just stays there and just stays in ice. I think he went up to one of the craziest mountains, coldest mountains in his tidy whities, bro.
To control your own body temperature with meditation and breathing exercises. Wim Hof proved this by climbing to a 6.7 kilometer altitude on Mount Everest, wearing nothing but shorts and staying submerged in an ice bath for 2 hours, all without letting his body temperature fall below 37 degrees Celsius.
I watched interviews with him.
This takes a lot of training to pull off, and something tells me this guy isn't quite the meditative type. I would blind all of the windows and consider lighting the fireplace, but only if I could use one of these blankets to pitch a tent tent to block the light. Then I'd have him lie down inside the tent next to the fire. The smoke from the chimney would not be seen because there's already a fog, and the smell will only travel in the direction the wind takes it, which gives us a reasonable chance that the hunters won't catch the scent. The next morning, they hear a snowmobile approaching and see the mountain rescuer that was sent to help is actually one of the hunters from the gas station. They climb out a window before the man can find them and try to go for the snowmobile, but he comes out of the cabin, and with no other choice, they run back into the woods.
They had to run.
Okay, something about this is very, very wrong. If this is one of the guys that's been hunting us, he wouldn't call out to announce his presence. He also wouldn't come in without his gun raised and ready to fire. This changes everything about what we think is happening here, because if those two hunters from the gas station aren't hunting us down, then who is? Now, this could also be a trap, and we can't know for sure until we got control of the situation, so I wouldn't announce my presence without making sure I had the upper hand. This couple actually got one thing right here. After everything they've been through, they would be way too weak to take this guy down physically. When your body is experiencing hypothermia, it's losing more heat than it can produce, and you also lose coordination and strength because the blood moves away from the limbs and towards the heart. But there's still a way to take control of the situation. There were a lot of useful things in this house other than this phone.
What are we gonna do, fam?
Rocket flare. Now these things
we
can
could
do
use a
pretty
flare
serious
on
damage,
him.
and at the very least are an excellent distraction. I would have wanted to wait until he opened the door and fire the flare into his chest to take him by surprise. We can then rush at the man without needing to overpower him and take his gun and the keys to the snowmobile to get the out of here. Also, given that he's part of the rescue service, he might have a satellite phone or a walkie-talkie we can use to get in contact with more help. As they run away from the cabin, the husband starts having intense hallucinations and collapses. Nadia checks the map and discovers that the innkeeper's cottage is relatively close. She makes sure he can continue before they set off in that direction. I gotta say, this would have been a good thing to do a lot earlier. They've been wandering for days and don't have a compass, so this map is a lot less useful now than it would have been earlier at the mountaintop. Now, there's still a way for them to figure out their cardinal direction to make sure they start walking the right way. In the northern hemisphere, moss will usually grow on the northern side of trees due to the sun's positioning in the sky, and from there, you can figure out the remaining directions. If you can't find any moss, however, there's another approach you can use. Stand a 3-foot-long stick into the ground and place a rock at the tip of the stick's shadow. Then wait 15 minutes and place a second rock at the tip of the shadow's new position. If you face away from the stick and look between the two rocks, you'll find true north. They continue trekking until they spot the innkeeper's cottage, but the husband's hallucinations are getting out of control and he's haunted by this kid in a yellow jacket. He's breaking down and doesn't have the strength to continue, so the wife goes to scout alone and sees an abandoned snowmobile. The other hunter finds her and he's confused by how scared she is of him. But he doesn't have long to think about it as David here bashes the man's head in with a rock. They run away and take the hunter's snowmobile to the innkeeper's cabin. Okay, this guy's reaction to Nadia here confirms that none of this has anything to do with
the hunters. It wasn't them. It was someone else. He would have been like super creepy or super like scary, disturbing acting to her, but he wasn't.
Okay, this guy's reaction to Nadia here confirms that none of this has anything to do with a scratched car. He didn't seem to understand what was going on.
What was happening?
This couple might have just killed their best chance to escape. If they had just spoken to the guy, he would have helped them. But instead, they stoned him. I guess communication is not one of their strong suits, but neither is critical thinking. They took his snowmobile, but left his gun sitting there in the snow.
They left the
They
gun?
have absolutely nothing to defend themselves with. And when they manage to find one, they leave it
Never
behind.
leave the gun.
They walk inside the cottage, but that's when the innkeeper comes downstairs. Surprised to see them, he quickly goes to call the ambulance, but the wife overhears him talking on the phone to someone else.
No.
She doesn't trust him and tries to leave, but the innkeeper holds them up at knife point. She then notices a wall of photos of her and her husband, and among those photos is a picture of a little boy. Behind them, their neighbor Tomas enters the room and surprises them both. That's when their dark unknown secret is finally revealed. Years ago, they ran over a kid on their way to Stockholm, and they never told anyone about it. They didn't even bother to call for an ambulance, and
that's why the kid was haunting him in the yellow jacket. And now the family's taking revenge on him. They got a history of hit and runs, y'all.
They went to Stockholm, and they never told anyone about it. They didn't even bother to call for an ambulance, and that little boy was Tomas's son, who found out it was them and has been stalking the couple until he had the perfect plan for revenge. He was the one who set up this Bear Valley trip, and now he's going to finish this. He orders them to get on their knees, and he knocks Nadia out. She wakes up tied to a chair and sees her husband holding a drill. He tells David that he wants them to drill into his wife's belly to kill the baby because they killed his son, and threatens to shoot his wife if he doesn't comply. David raises the drill up to her stomach, but he can't go through with it. So
I can't either!
Alright, If
A leg
Tomas
shot.
created this elaborate trap only
Not
to
that
have him
bad.
tortured and killed inside a house, then he's not being smart about any of this. There's going to be way too much evidence to clean up, and he hasn't even set up a proper kill room with plastic sheets to be cleaned easily without leaving a bloody mess. If he wants to kill them without getting caught, it's better to force them back out and tie them up so they die of hypothermia. And if any evidence surfaces, it will look like they were just caught in the weather. The neighbor puts his gun to her head and is about to shoot her, but the other hunter comes in. He's confused and demands to know what they're doing. Thomas here panics and shoots
so
at
he's-
him, but
he wasn't a bad
accidentally kills the
guy!
innkeeper. The neighbor goes into
He
attack
wasn't
mode,
a bad
and David
guy!
here uses that opportunity to set his wife free. Okay, when people show up like this, it's a distraction, and you have to take advantage of it if you want any chance of escaping.
Right.
You don't need to understand the situation. Simply rush this guy and take him out.
Take him down
Now, he has a
round,
gun,
right.
but you also have a pretty powerful weapon, and that's your teeth. The average human can bite down with over 150 pounds of force per square inch. So the best thing to do here is to immediately
I
take
know
advantage
that
of the
now.
distraction and bite him right in the jugular
Right in
vein
the-
on the
the-
neck.
the neck.
You'll be able to rip
The
through the flesh
jugular
enough
too.
to severely wound him, and he'll have to recover. Give you
We
time
turn
to
it into
escape the house.
vampires.
They run out of the cottage and head to the snowmobile, but they can't get it to work, and when they hear another gunshot go off inside, they run back into the woods. The husband falls to the ground and is too injured to continue. He tells his wife she needs to leave him, and she sprints out of there, but trips on the dead hunter's body, and thankfully, his rifle is still next to his corpse. The
Now
neighbor
she gonna
demands to
take up
know
the
where his
gun.
wife is, and that's when she comes to the rescue. Their neighbor puts his gun down, but Thomas starts to smile, and something is wrong here. Suddenly, she's shot down by an unseen sniper, and this woman walks out. She's the
The
neighbor's
wife!
wife, and the second person hunting them down. Now, I get it. When people are actually faced with the reality of ending someone's life, you're likely going to hesitate. But even still, this was the worst way to go about it. If it were me, I'd be more worried about reaching them in time. And as soon as I saw the neighbor, I would have fired at him to
Shot
stop
him
from shooting
inst-
David here.
right
This would
away.
save him more quickly, and then
Bang,
neighbor would be
bang.
forced to run for cover. It would also guarantee that the wife wouldn't sneak up on her and kill her. David here begs to be killed, but they want to live with the pain. He's finally gotten revenge for his son's death and leaves the man alone with the cooling corpse of his wife nearby.
What do you think? How would you beat Red Dot? Let me know with a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and check out the How to Beat playlist for more videos like this. Until next time, have a damn good day.
They're gonna just leave him there to freeze to death while he watches his wife. They should have took help from the guy in the red, because the guy in the red was part of the police. You know what I'm saying? You can't trust anybody in situations like that, I know. But like, you know, like even the second guy, when he pulled up the hunter in the with the pickup truck that they keyed the truck, right? They should have talked to the man, bro. They had an opportunity. And when he was fighting the other guy, they had an opportunity there too. I can see why y'all wanted me to react to this one, man. Dope breakdown by Cinema Summary. A lot of stuff I learned as well, especially how to find true north, how strong our jaw are when we bite into something. Let me know what y'all thought of the video down in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of my reaction. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Thank y'all so much for watching, especially if you made it to the end. And I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.